Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. Arvind Kejriwal has announced a Pujari Granthi Samman Yojana, which is a scheme which provides a monthly honorarium to the priests and the gurudwara granthis, and the amount is about 18,000 rupees. And today he reinforced the scheme by registering the priests of a temple near Delhi's Kashmiri Gate. Now, what has happened is the BJP has questioned the timing of the scheme. They have labeled Arvind Kejriwal as a Chunavi Hindu, which means that he turns into a Hindu during the elections. And so the big question is that why is Arvind Kejriwal showing so much of concern for the priests? Is he trying to garner the Hindu votes? We'll try and understand the politics behind it. Joining me now is TK Rajlakshmi, Senior Deputy Editor of The Frontline. Thank you so much, Rajlakshmi, for joining. We have Puneet Nicholas Yadav, Senior Editor with The Federal. Thank you so much, Puneet. And I'll begin with Puneet. How do you really see the scheme and the way BJP has already started targeting Arvind Kejriwal, calling him a Chunavi Hindu, and Arvind Kejriwal replying back saying that there are BJP is in power in 20 states. In Gujarat they've been in power for almost 30 years, and why have they not taken care of the priests? So why this sudden concern for priests and the Gurudwara Granthis?
This is typical election-related stuff, Neelu, and I mean, Kejriwal is as much a master of these kind of gimmicks as the BJP and the Prime Minister are, So, I mean, the charge of soft Hindutva or, this whole Hindu, kind of outreach has been there against Kejriwal, forever. And now with this whole thing of, this Pujari Granthi scheme, 18,000 per month to be paid, to Pujaris and Granthis. I don't know how many Pujaris and Granthis are there in Delhi, because I'm sure the way you see temples coming up every now and then, I don't know what is the exact criteria for registering for this and how many people it will eventually enroll. The enrollment has started only today, I believe. But see, you have to look at it from various aspects. You have this scheme, and of course, a similar scheme, although the amount is much lesser, much lesser, but a similar scheme was launched in 2020 by Mamata Banerjee for Bengal, which again had attracted this whole charge of, appeasement and counter appeasement and all of that, because in 2012, she had announced a scheme for paying a certain salary or honorarium to the muftis and the maulanas and, the imams in Bengal. And 8 years later, when she was facing this charge of working only for the Muslims, she suddenly came up with this scheme for pujaris in Bengal. So there is a sort of parallel there. Now, in Delhi, you have two aspects here, two clear ones that one can look at. On the one hand, you have Kejriwal saying 18,000 per month, Pujari Granthi scheme, Samman Yojana, we will pay 18,000 per month to Pujaris and Granthis. So basically, Hindu priests and Sikh priests who will be paid 18,000 per month. On the other hand, the Delhi government, which is supposed to pay these salaries for the imams of Delhi, who are registered under the Delhi Waqf. Those imams who are also paid a salary of 18,000 per month, for the last 17 months have not been paid their salaries. They have been protesting for the last 6 months. At least 3 times they've gone and protested in front of Arvind Kejriwal's house for non-payment of salaries. 17 months they've not been paid. So you may come and make this announcement that I'm going to pay 18,000 to Pujaris and Granthis also, and I'm bringing in parity because Maulanas used to get, but Pujaris didn't get, and this is the only government in the country that is going to pay 18,000 to Pujaris. But finally, fine, the Hindu Muslim of it and the whole appeasement and all of that is on one side. The other aspect of it is also the financial condition, the fiscal condition of Delhi. We cannot, brush that under the carpet. For the first time in, since 1993, If you speak to anybody in the Delhi government, who is aware of the finances of Delhi, the finance ministry guys, or any of the others, they'll tell you that for the first time in perhaps since '93, the Delhi government is looking at a revenue deficit, at going into losses. It was always a revenue surplus state for the last 5 years, especially 2019 onwards, when this whole thing of guarantees and these roles became like a common feature across political parties, across states. The Delhi revenue surplus has been falling steeply every single year. The Delhi government currently is under a debt of over 4,000, almost 5,000 crores, which says a lot about the financial condition of the state treasury. They had a revenue surplus of over 14,000 crore in 22-23, if I'm not mistaken. In just 1 year, from 14,000 crore in 22-23, in 23-24, they came down to some 3,600 or 3,200 crore of revenue surplus. And this year, the projection is that by the time the actuals come in, the actual figures come in, they might actually slip below and go into a deficit.
No,
And
but the question is that, despite this kind of a revenue deficit, if he has gone ahead and made an announcement like this, which means that it is the populist announcement, he's thinking that,
of
maybe
course,
surely merely by the announcement of it, maybe he'll try and garner some extra votes. But will it really help him politically? What the ground situation, does it show that it's going to help him garner some extra votes?
well, I don't really know whether this scheme is going to help him in, this scheme in particular is going to help him. I would still say that the Aam Aadmi Party, not because they of very great work in the last 5 years, or I mean, of course, their first government, I would say, did a lot of good work. But the current government, in its current form, and particularly over the last 2 years, of course, there are also factors of harassment from the center, arrests of Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia, the entire top brass and all of that, interference by the lieutenant governor. But their governance in the current term has not been doesn't have any great things to write home about. And so there is possibility. I see this as another kind of a desperation, even though I still believe that they will emerge as the single largest party in Delhi. But there is a certain element of desperation in the Aam Aadmi Party, which is very visible in their campaign this time. See, I told you about the dues for the imams for the last 17 months. You're announcing one scheme after the other. The other day, they announced a hike in the Mukhyamantri Mahila Samman, Rashi, or whatever that is called. It had started with a dole of 1,000 per month. Then they said we will increase it, and now they've promised 2,100 per month, if I'm not mistaken. It's all right to make these promises, fine. But then do you see there are charges against Kejriwal of unfulfilled promises? Is this going to be another one of those? Even if they do come back to power, will they have the money to allocate to these schemes? The Mahila Samman scheme has already, got into a whole lot of other speculations and controversies. You have a situation where you're slipping into revenue deficit for the first time, possibly slipping into revenue deficit for the first time in 30 years or 31, 32 years, whatever, since 93. And then you're not able to pay salaries to the imams who are already covered under the salary bill of the state government. The salary bill of the Delhi government alone is roughly 30% of its revenues. 11,000 crore, 11,000 or 12,000 crore is what the Delhi government has to pay in salaries. I'm not even going into the pension bill and the interests and all that they have to pay. The pension bill, I believe, comes to about 3,000 crore. Now you add to that this 18,000 per month, and as I said, God knows how many pujaris and granthis are there in Delhi, how many of them are ultimately going to register.
Yeah.
And you'll add that to the revenue, to the salary bill of the state government.
Yeah.
So there is also the finance part of it which has to be factored in. And whether you'll actually, fine, you may win the election. This may bring in money, bring in votes for you. But once you've won the election, will you be able to make that outlay? For
No,
the
of course.
last, just in the last 1 year, if you look at what were the major things that the Aam Aadmi Party was known for, their major plan: Bijli, free Bijli, education, public health, right? You pick up the budget that Atishi presented last time around, because she held the finance portfolio at that time and she presented the budget. You look at that budget, the biggest cuts in the budget last year in Delhi were for public health, urban development, roads, drainage. And we saw what happened in the monsoons in Delhi. We've seen what's happening with the road situation, the traffic situation, and all of that in Delhi. And and then you kind of wreak this kind of fiscal harakiri with a scheme, and a scheme for what? For giving pujaris and granthis a salary.
Mm.
You could have come up with some scheme which actually helped, more. I'm all for schemes that would have helped the elderly. You could have you've not been able to pay pensions to people in Delhi. You could have cleared the pension bill.
Right. In fact, I'll come on the same question what Puneet just mentioned, Rajlakshmi, that why only segregate priests and the granthis? What is the idea, do you think, is there in Kejriwal's mind while he does that? Of course, it looks like an act of desperation. It surely looks like a populist scheme. But why single out only priests and granthis? Is he trying to win the Hindu votes through this? What is the idea, according to you?
Well, on the face of it, it seems to that he's targeting the Hindus as well as the Sikh community. I think the Sikh communities is supposed to have a significant presence in, say, in around 10 seats, and there are. I mean, I think n number of temples in the city, as as Puneet himself said, and in fact, they are the temples which are registered. So I think it runs into thousands actually, and the same goes for gurudwaras also, but they are fewer in number. But yeah, now this whole thing about parity, you know with the imams, that's a little facile argument, because it was 30 years ago. I was just reading up some stuff.
Yeah,
So it seems that the Supreme Court had directed the Delhi government, and I think it was a directive that applied to all governments, that
yeah,
they have to frame a law to pay a remuneration to imams, as well as those who are registered with the Waqf boards, as well as those who are not registered with the Waqf boards, because there was a certain economic argument given, the fact that they were quite badly off, etc. So the Supreme Court finally said that. So I think it was in the spirit of that a certain amount was being disbursed to them, and it was in the form of a salary to those mosques who were registered, and in the form of an honorarium to those who were not registered. Now this 18,000 that has been promised to the granthis and the priests is also in the form of an honorarium. As far as the issue of salaries constituting the bulk of expenditures, that holds true across, for any government. Salaries do
yeah,
constitute the bulk of expenditures, including that of pensions. Now the Delhi government, I mean I do not know the specific reasons as to why it finds itself in a state of revenue deficit. It's quite possible that the expenditures that it had incurred earlier, putting into health, education, various things, which on the basis of which it got re-elected, right? And of course, there have been a series of actions, legal actions, as well as investigative actions by the ED, CBI, and all these various bureaus. We know them, So to what and then the excise thing also blows up. So they have been hamstrung, for resources. Definitely, they have been hamstrung quite badly off. and that they find themselves in a state of a revenue deficit is not therefore surprising. Okay, now as far as, yes, and I do agree with Puneet that there is a degree of desperation, because they also feel that maybe a third time lucky, to be a third time lucky, and to score a hat trick, I mean in terms of victory, may elude them, because again, because of the whole corruption narrative. And therefore, in a scenario where margins might be narrow, it makes perfect sense to appease to, I mean I'm saying in a populist sense. I'm not justifying it, but perhaps they anticipated that maybe the BJP might include it in its manifesto. You don't know, because the BJP is quite capable of doing something like that, of that matter. So then, just to preempt this, to sort of address to address a constituency which has not been addressed before, and to sort of make a point that we empathize with the economic conditions of these religious sections. Therefore, we are sort of making an announcement now. In fact, if you recall, the Maharashtra government is also was also having second thoughts after getting elected. It was thinking whether it would be able to afford or to implement the Ladki Behan scheme or not. So often it's an afterthought, but at the moment, in fact, recognizing the anxiety amongst people, the economic anxiety that people have across all sections, which includes granthis, which includes Hindu priests. Of course, they happen to be Hindu priests as well as granthis, and there's an added element to it that Kejriwal does not want to antagonize any section of the electorate, because it's imams versus this thing. I mean, this issue was raised in 2010, by none other than UPCM, Yogi
True.
Adityanath, when he was an MP. I mean, he had raised it on the floor of the parliament that why shouldn't Hindu priests be given? So I'm not saying it's a very good thing. I mean, on the face of it, there have to be some other mechanisms in which the government can steer clear of being sort of directly involved in sort of religion, which attunes to the secular character of a republic, right? So there has to be some other alternative also. But at the moment, election seems to be in fact, the only imperative. Winning elections seems to be the only imperative at the moment. And I won't be surprised if something similar would come from the BJP also in a few days, or
No,
maybe an enhanced amount. You never know.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
In fact, Puneet, I was looking at a few posters which BJP has come out. They've written that visiting temples is only a deception tactics, and respecting priests is a poll gimmick. And he has always made fun of the Hindu dharma, and the kind of social reactions which are coming in from the BJP people. Has it really made BJP insecure that somewhere their Hindu vote bank will be chipped away by Arvind Kejriwal? So is there a sense of insecurity on the part of the BJP as well after seeing this priest scheme?
Well, and I don't think that with regard to the BJP and Delhi and Kejriwal, that insecurity I don't think is new. That insecurity has its roots in the previous Delhi Assembly election, because
Yeah.
while Mr. Kejriwal, you see, he one thing, of course, is that the BJP believes that they exercise sole proprietorship over Hindu religion. And that sole proprietorship should not be diluted by anybody else. That is their problem. That is not Kejriwal's problem or the Congress's or anybody else's. But naturally, the moment they see, some political leader from any other party that is not the BJP going and doing this kind of, running this kind of a religious circus, going to temples and this temple hopping and schemes meant for pujaris and all of that, they think that their personal fief is being invaded. That is their problem.
That's true.
The other part of it is, so that was expected. I mean, that kind of a reaction, Chunavi Hindu and all that's all expected. But see, this is a game where they have been defeated by Kejriwal in the last Delhi elections. What happened in 2020? You had this whole Jai Shri Ram and Bharat Mata and Goli Maro and all those things, Shaheen Bagh happening at the same time, CAA, all kinds of polarization. And the BJP, of course, at the forefront. And what did Kejriwal do? He came with Bajrang Bali and Hanuman and all of that. Then, Diwali, he went to Akshardham and did his whole Diwali celebration there, full public view, camera, all that, basically taking a leaf out of Mr. Modi's book and stuff. And I mean, these things worked for him in 2020. The BJP hasn't been able to stomach that. There's another Hindu in town, you know, and who's doing it, if not better, then at least as good as we are.
Hmm.
And you'll rarely ever see Arvind Kejriwal speak up for Muslims. But when it comes to Hindus and Hindu priests and all of that, you see him doing exactly what the BJP does. So the BJP, I think, is just feeling insecure about its own pitch. And it's very predictable what they're saying.
Right. In fact, I was looking at a picture of Arvind Kejriwal and BJP. In fact, it's a BJP's poster where Kejriwal, Rajlakshmi has been shown adorned with Rudraksh, flowers and some garlands and vermilion on his body. And then, the poster says that the man who has been providing salary to imams for the past 10 years, whose grandmother and who himself was unhappy over the construction of the Lord Ram temple in Ayodhya, who opened liquor shops outside temple and gurudwaras, and the one who practices anti-Hindu politics, has suddenly started showing concern for priests and granthis. Rajlakshmi, how would you really react to what BJP has just said?
Yeah, so such attacks are going to be, are going to be standard fare. I don't see any other form in which he can be attacked, because they'll have to show that he's not sincere, essentially, and that this is just a gimmick on his part. But he's a step ahead. I think he's gone a step ahead, and is literally making them react to what he's done.
Yeah.
So here the BJP will have to outdo him now, or maybe either increasing the amount, or maybe find some other segment to some other religious segment to appease, and to say that that we are for them also. So I think these kind of reactions are inevitable. But it all started with the empty chair that Atishi placed, Lakshman. Okay, that's okay. So from there on, it's been continuing. But the impact of it, again, as Puneet says, quite interestingly, all those attempts at polarization did not help the BJP in the last elections. I mean, everybody felt that the elections were just going, could be won by the BJP, just on the basis of all the vituperative politics that was conducted at that point. Everybody was an urban Nakshal who participated in the anti-CA protests. And of course, Kejriwal himself played safe. He didn't take an open position on the CAA. While yes, he has not openly spoken out in favor, of the minorities, but he's not taken a communal position. Also, I mean, he has not, stooped to that kind of a language. Let us say that. So at least we can give him his due, and let him be a faithful Hindu to the extent that he
Right.
can be without
Just a
without
little clarification from you, Puneet, and then we wind up the show that he went to this Margat Baba temple today and he got the priest registered. So are we going to see in the coming days that he's going to go temple hopping? Like I was also reading somewhere that apparently the next he'll go is to the Connaught Place's Hanuman temple. And
Hanuman
so
Mandir, yeah.
yeah, Hanuman Mandir. So is this going to become a routine now? Like every day we'll see Arvind Kejriwal at some temple or the other and making sound and noise
Oh,
about his scheme?
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
You,
Okay. So,
he's already said that he's going to personally register all these pujaris and granthis. So,
yeah.
So that is very much part of the strategy, and he is again one of those who carries around a camera crew with him. So like somebody else we have at the very top. So he'll also be going to these temples, one camera crew following him, one camera crew already there before he reaches. All that drama you'll see happening. And the BJP, of course, can just sit and wring its hands over it. But I mean they've at least on this front they've met their match.
Absolutely, absolutely. So interesting days ahead as far as the battle for Delhi is concerned. Thank you so much, Rajlakshmi Puneet. It was wonderful to have you on the program, and one appeal to the viewers who are watching this discussion: subscribe to our channel, send us your feedback, and stay tuned to the Federal. Thank you.